Good morning. I pray everyone is doing well. This is my discussion board, Form 2. For this week's lessons, we were asked to summarize the book of Luke and the book of Acts. The gospel in the book of Luke was written by the same author, Saint Luke. Some called him a physician. Um, One of the greatest things that I learned when looking at the book of Luke's, it starts off giving us the accounts of Jesus's birth and the story of the manger and Jesus and Mary both. Jesus and John's birth being revealed to both Zachariah and Mary. Um, both addressed both were addressed to a Christian by the name of the the Theophilus. In the Gospel of Luke, um, his opening chapters goes into the birth and as well of Jesus's childhood. Um, and what was very amazing to me in the book of Luke's was that Luke journeyed down Jesus's ministry. He talked about the different teachings to include the parable of the Good Samaritan and the story of Zachariah in the tree. He talked about the lost coin, the prodigy son, and the rich man and Lazarus. In Jesus' ministry, he went on with Jesus's teachings and his preaching and the healing of the sick and the hope of bringing together a discouraged people. Jesus, and as we look at this and continue to journey, we see that in the end, um, the author goes in and tells us the story of Jesus' betrayal. And we know that Jesus was betrayed by Judas. And Jesus' resurrection, that after that betrayal, he was hung on the cross and he died and then he was resurrected. This the summary of the book of Acts. Again, the author is Luke, which again, let me repeat that again. That was written, he wrote both Luke and Acts. And the author here was a companion of Paul. That I didn't go and say that in the beginning, but he was a companion of Paul, the apostle. So he may have gotten a lot of his teachings, a lot of these stories, and from there as well. But we know that the Gospel of Luke's got a lot of his messages from Matthew's and Mark. I love the book of Acts. This is a very powerful book of showing the Holy Spirit. And when the Holy Spirit comes upon on Pentecost, when Peter preached and 3,000 was saved. What an amazing story. When I look at that, when I look at Paul Peter and his boldness in this first chapter, and when Peter hung his head down in the chapters before, but now I see Peter back on the scene with standing tall and preaching before 3,000, and the Holy Spirit comes on, like fires of tongue, and begin to rest upon the people that Peter was speaking to in Pentecost. And then this was a beginning of the spread of the gospel within the Christian, and a hope for the model of the future church. Peter's sermon and the boldness of the 3,000 and the new believers was so amazing to me here in the book of Acts. Surrendering to Jesus was here in the book of Acts was almost like this is the message. This was what was the movement. This is what what was going on. And the spread of the gospel, evangelism was taking place among the Gentiles. And then you remember Peter had a revelation of the gospel to share it with the Gentiles as well. And now we transition here in the book of Acts from Pentecost into the spreading of the gospel into now Saul, this amazing Saul who had inflicted so much harm and crucified so many Christians, has now began to have the passion for Jesus Christ all of a sudden. Paul was once Saul, becomes a passionate follower of Jesus Christ, as well as some of his soldiers. You know, he was met on the road to Damascus, and the light threw him off his horse, and he was blind, and now he was a follower of Jesus Christ. Now, Paul here in Barnabas also begins their missionary journeys throughout the world for the Gentiles, which came with many tests and many resistance, as we know, when doing anything. But they did have some resistance. And then in the book of Acts, we go on to see Paul's arrest and his trial, and then his imprisonment, or we say house arrest. And that ends the chapter abruptly with us not really knowing all the details of this trial. But these two books are, by one author, but two different approaches. You know, one is the journey of Jesus and his ministry, and all that Jesus did, and then the resurrection and his betrayal. And then we have another one that goes on after Jesus has gone on and begin to show how we are building the church and evangelism and spreading the gospel, and the different resistance and the different things that, that we are even going through today. So two great gospel. Every word I always grow and learn. So two great books that I love and really have enjoyed looking at and studying for the last 2 days. I pray that everyone is have a great night, and I truly am happy to be able to share with you my thoughts on the book of Luke and the Acts.